Welcome to the Course of Action podcast with me, Jeff Clark. My guest today is David Darling, author of The Tipping Point, as well as In the Shadows Recruitment. His newest book, Grave Choices, the second Noah Hunter novel, comes out this November. Thanks for tuning in. And now, David Darling. All right, so David Darling, author of multiple novels, is here with me today. And David, let's get started on who you are. You are in the Toronto area. You're from Toronto. Canadian Army Reserves for quite a long time. Tell us a little bit about that.
I joined in February '92, and I was a tanker, a gunner, and a crew commander for Armored Vehicle General Purpose (AVGPs), the tanks, in an armored squadron. And I was also a gunner with an artillery regiment up in Ottawa. So that was almost 17 years.
And at one point in time, I believe you told me that you were an instructor at one point. You were teaching.
Correct. Yeah, for my last while, I took a leadership course, and I was an instructor. I taught on basic training and how to drive the tanks, how to become a crew commander.
Right.
And everything I could teach. One of the best courses I enjoyed teaching was how to become an instructor. So that's where you all the leadership skills and how to teach a lesson plan and look out for your troops, everything like that.
Yeah,
so
training the trainer. Yeah.
How to train the trainer. Yeah, it was really good. I learned so much more being an instructor with the Army than I ever did as a student, which sounds kind of off, but it was because, boy, they could ask you anything.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I did 12 years in the U.S. Air Force, and I was an instructor at one point in time, and I'd say probably the same thing. I probably learned more as an instructor than I did ever as a student, because I think I understood the other side of things and what all goes into building the curriculum, standing up there and giving them your attention and shifting your focus, because you have to, you go from, we call it operational. You go from being operational to being in training. And when you're used to being in operational and then you go to training and to teach, people how to do your job, you have to change your mindset. So yeah, I agree. I think I probably learned more as an instructor, working with other instructors and building curriculum, than I did ever as a student, because I soaked up so much more knowledge from so many more people.
Oh, for sure. Especially when I had a warrant officer that liked to see our lesson plans the night before. So
yeah,
not only did I have to know my subject inside and out, you had to
prove it.
Prove that I knew what I was talking about.
Right.
So,
well, that's good. Because you don't want to ever get into a situation where you're trying to wing it, especially when you're trying to teach something as important as driving a tank. It sounds like it wouldn't be terribly difficult, but when you start to think about it, a tank is a massive weapon and it's very, very heavy. I can see how somebody could get hurt easily, and
for sure
things go wrong in a snap of fingers. So a lot of importance there. You want to make sure all your I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Oh, that's for sure, yes.
So, you've been writing for a couple of years now.
Correct.
Tell us, I know the story about how you started writing, but tell everyone listening what caused you to really start writing a couple of years ago.
I believe it was November 2018 or 2017. It's already getting blurry. I was off for shoulder surgery, and during my recovery period, I was reading a book a day or more for weeks. And at one point, I read a book, and I just thought it was horrible. It's just one of those novels that I couldn't get into. I ended up putting it down and going, "Oh, that's garbage."
Yeah,
I go,
been there.
I could write a better book than that. And I still had several weeks left off work, so why not? What else am I doing?
Right.
So that's when I got into writing. That ended up being my first novel. Serve in the Shadows recruitment, and it took a while to get her down, but 10 months, I believe, to write my first novel. So, but I put everything I had into it, and thoroughly enjoyed it. So, and that's how I got into writing.
So, Serve in the Shadows Recruitment is your first novel, but it was not. You pulled it at one point in time and kind of hit it with a revision.
Yeah.
How come?
Correct. I well, first I tried going the traditional route, meaning I queried. I had about 90 agents at one point on the list for that novel that I've queried, and I got feedback to the extent of it's just not for me, not a good fit for my list. Good luck elsewhere, basically. So after a while, I'm like, you know what? Let's just check into this Amazon self-publishing thing a little bit more, and I did, and I put it up, and I turned around and pulled it down after talking to an editor, a real editor,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan Steck. And then there was just so many problems and complications with the novel, so it was only available for a short time. And then I spent another 25 months going through revising it, editing it to the utmost. And then I republished it again back in August 23rd, a couple months ago in 2020.
So, to anybody out there listening thinking that a book is easy to write, it's not. I'm writing a book myself. It's a challenging process, especially if you do something like what David did, where you write a book, you put it out there, and then you pull it, and then you redo it again. It takes a lot to pull back a piece of work and to say I need to make changes. That takes a really, really, really how do I say it? A pretty strong-willed person to tell themselves to do that and to admit that that it needs work and to do that. So I think that's pretty awesome. But it is out now. You can get Serve in the Shadows Recruitment on Amazon right now.
Correct. And now, during that time, while I was still revising, editing it, I never stopped writing. I did start writing book 2 in that series, or that after following that novel. However, COVID hit, and within that novel, I had already started writing about biological weapons and a large superpower that is trying to assert its dominance in the world. And nobody really wanted to read a book about a pandemic at that point.
In the middle of a pandemic, yeah.
so I got a novel half completed just sitting there. I've been toying with finishing it.
I think you should. I mean, we're far enough over the pandemic. I mean,
yeah,
it's a tough subject for some,
also,
but I mean, it's still a very good topic to write a fiction book about. So I think
it was just
you should.
Bad timing on my part, but it is what it is.
Well, good timing on the idea, bad timing on the potential execution of that idea, just because of what happened at the time. I think it's a great book idea. Jack Carr just kind of did something about it with The Devil's Hand. He didn't go as far as it wasn't a pandemic necessarily, but it was about a weapon like that that could have gotten out and caused a whole lot of problems. So I think it's still a relevant story. You should absolutely look at finishing it. But so you can get in. Serve in the Shadows Recruitment is out now. However, you have another one out. It's the first in the Noah Hunter series called The Tipping Point. Tell us about Noah Hunter and tell us how The Tipping Point kind of came to fruition and development.
Well, immediately after canning book 2 of The Serve in the Shadows, I turned around and really wanted to get more into a different type of novel, something I could see that would be more sustainable for many books within a series. And I've always enjoyed police, crime, thriller type novels, so that's what I got into. I started writing about Noah Hunter. He's a police sergeant in Arrow Point, Wyoming. Arrow Point is a fictional city just west of Casper, and it is a growing city. Not too big, but it's not too small anymore either. So, and that's where I had the Noah Hunter character reside. And the reason I wanted to do Noah Hunter was is just an average guy. He didn't have special ops training. He wasn't um, uh, a Superman or have all these powers or ability to make a phone call in a missile strike will come in. He's a cop and he uses all that information that he's gaining by finding clues, following leads,
Right.
Detective work.
He's a guy that just works at a small town police department.
Yeah, he's just an average guy who's been pressured into a situation, and he doesn't back down, and he digs in his heels, and he resolves and finishes the assignment, so to speak.
So in the tipping point, Noah Hunter is faced with some pretty unique challenges, and of course it's going to lead into more of that in future books, into the second book, which we'll get to here in a little bit. At what point in time did you say, I'm going to self-publish this because the world needs to hear it? And what was kind of the driving factor behind really believing in self-publishing and putting David Darling out there with confidence to self-publish?
Good question. So, well, first off, I still didn't give up on the querying method for a traditional aspect. So I did query 154 separate agents and editors for the tipping point. And I got back, great story, loved it, loved the premise, it's just not for me.
Okay.
And then I had somebody hand it to one of the top agents in North America. He looked at it, he said it was a great story, he's a great writer, but the public's perception of the police at that time was not entirely favorable. Correction, a small percentage of the public's opinion of the police was not favorable, and they wanted to shy away from that genre.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things in the media at the time. I know here in the States, I'm not sure about Canada where you are, but I know here in the States, there's a lot of mixed feelings about law enforcement. So yeah, I think that would have been a tough. That might have been a tough mainstream sell. Unfortunately, as good as the book is and as cool as Noah Hunter is, that might have been a tough sell.
Well, but what I did get out of that conversation was I had one of the top agents in North America pretty much say I'm a good writer. The story was great and the writing was fine. Those were 3 wins in my back pocket. So,
huge.
So, at a certain point, I had to decide, did I want to keep trying forever as my manuscripts built up, because I'm still writing, or do something with them.
Right.
And so I go, I self-published the first novel there, and I can do it again. So that's the point where I switched tracks and started hiring out for cover design, editor, proofreader, the whole
team.
works.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people, and I've read a lot of success stories about people doing just that, and self-publishing and self-marketing and everything that a publisher would do. They just brought it all into their own home and said, I'm going to push this like anybody else would push it, and maybe more so because it's directly me. There's no third party. And they've found massive success self-publishing, continuing to, they're on a routine, an annual routine of pumping out a book or two, and they have great followings. There's plenty of success in self-publishing, and something I definitely want people listening to understand is that it kind of has the stigma of, oh, well, self-publishing means that you've given up or you weren't good enough to go with a major publisher. Well, you heard it right here. David had a perfectly good book, perfectly good subject, got perfectly good feedback. It was just maybe arguably it wasn't the best of timing to release a book of that subject matter with what was going on in the United States. Obviously, on a global scale, it's a little different. However, pretty big market in the United States, so to skip out on that would have been, I probably wouldn't have laid that one up to being a good idea. But there's plenty of success in self-publishing, and you have had that success with The Tipping Point. It's gone over very well, right?
For sure. And that same success reaffirmed to me that I can write. People enjoy the story,
Yeah.
and they want more. So the very next day after I finished The Tipping Point, I started right away on book 2, Grave Choices.
And I really enjoyed The Tipping Point. I think what I enjoyed the most, and you've kind of chatted about it before, is the sense of simplicity of Noah Hunter, the main character, and his kind of internal struggle with potentially having to do more. He really likes being a cop and being in that kind of investigator type of role, and he doesn't necessarily want to do more. He wants to be out on the streets. He doesn't want to be trapped behind a desk, and he wants to deal with these things, hands on, and he has that kind of internal struggle with it, which kind of leads us into the second book, Grave Choices, where he is faced with some more problems, but that internal struggle kind of comes a little more to fruition. And tell us about kind of what was a driving factor behind giving him a little bit more of an internal struggle in the second book, Grave Choices.
For sure. Well, there's different types of struggles within that novel. Or I guess I should say conflicts, really, because that's basically what a struggle is.
Yeah.
So Noah Hunter has the option or the ability to move up in ranks with the police station. For example, he could have been a lieutenant for you Americans.
Yeah.
And well, and move upwards. However, that supervisory type role as that is not within that character's arc. So he prefers to be boots on the ground, working, and so on. And funny enough, that also echoes my own beliefs. What a coincidence! I'd rather be out on the ground, outside on the worst day than stuck behind a desk all day looking out a window at what I'm missing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the struggles he has, and that was. It's not a spoiler. I can give it away because it's on the cover. So instead of being promoted to lieutenant, he's promoted to full detective within the police force, and with new responsibilities, he literally stumbles across a victim of a violent crime, and soon he's waist deep in, figuratively, in the Arrow Point first serial killer rampage. So, and that's how he's working, and he's going forth with that.
And he gets promoted right in the middle of it, too. Kind of early on in the book, but right in the middle of when everything's kind of getting crazy. He kind of gets tossed this promotion, and it's still that internal struggle. I think I remember even a part where his chief or his boss says, hey, you need to go home and switch it up. Guys like you don't wear regular uniforms. You got to go put a suit on or something like that. And you can kind of just tell from the writing and the way it's put out there, he's kind of like, ugh. I gotta wear a suit now. I gotta dress up for work. Like, I already hate this.
Yeah, it's the typical. You're the workman or you're the suit. And the suits tend to be the higher ranking officers, the people behind the desk, whereas the workmen are, out in the ground,
blue collar, wearing the work gear. Yeah. I don't have to really dress up for my job now, but there was a point in time where I did, and I didn't really care for it too much, wearing a sports coat or anything like that. But I finally just bit the bullet and said, you know what? If I'm going to have to wear this, I'm going to be comfortable in it. And I went out and bought some nicer suits, and I at least was comfortable in it. I didn't necessarily care for wearing it, but they were nicer suits, so they felt nicer. Quality was better, fit was better. So it was like, well, okay, if I gotta wear it, at least I'm gonna. Because I do that to my regular clothes, and I do that to all my military gear. Like, I'm not gonna wear it and be uncomfortable. If I have to wear it, I'm gonna wear it and feel good. And if that means spending a little extra money to make it right, that's what I want to do. So I kind of imagined when I read that line and that part of the book that I was like, oh. You can tell he already doesn't like it, and there's probably two factors to that. One, he doesn't want to dress up, and two, for a man who doesn't want to dress up, does he even have a good suit at home? Or is it kind of like, oh crap, I got to wipe the mothballs off of this thing and throw it on because the boss said so. So that was a kind of a funny turning point in there. Oh, here's your promotion, and by the way, you need to pick it up on the dress, buddy. So let's switch it up for a minute. We'll talk more about grave choices here in a little bit, but I want to know, what are some of your favorite authors and favorite books? Because Clancy's a huge one, and I hate to sound cliche, but he's kind of like the godfather of some of this, thriller writing type of stuff. But me, I really liked Clancy, but I loved Michael Crichton, John Grisham, Brad Thor. Obviously loved Brad Thor. Mark Greaney, Brad Taylor, a lot of those guys now that have been doing it for a while. But I really loved Michael Crichton. Of course, he wrote Jurassic Park, and that's a big book. The Andromeda Strain and Congo. But then you have Clancy, who's done so much stuff. But I really like John Grisham because he wrote a lot of crime and law type of books, and those were things that I really love those things.
Sure. Well, I started, I think it was about 14, so 1984, so there's some math for some people here to figure out my age. I started reading fantasy, science fiction novels, everything from Greg Bear to Piers Anthony, Elie Modsat Jr., and as you can look around, I've gotten everything from David Eddings there now to Lee Child.
Another good one.
I have Chris Howdy. I have Don Bentley, Jack Carr. All these people.
I love Don Bentley. I really do. And the fact that he wrote 2 books and then got a Clancy deal. I'm like, dude, you're living the dream.
It's a dream.
I know, right? How jealous! I was so jealous of that. I was like, man, this dude wrote 2 books and he's got a Clancy deal already, and not just a 1-book deal. He did so good on his first Clancy deal that they gave him another deal, and then he has his own 3rd book coming out. Like, this guy's just doing nothing but hitting home runs.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
the Matt Drake series is
he's a great character.
Right up there with one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's a great character.
So, I've taken a little bit of Don Bentley's style.
Yeah.
Basically, he puts Matt Drake through the ringer.
Sure does.
My gosh. And so I'm like, yeah, well, I am 3/4 done writing Noah Hunter book 3. I think it's time to put the boots to him a little bit here.
And he starts out.
Write a passage.
I think it's what is it? I can't remember if it's his first book or the second book. Like, right out the gates, he puts Matt Drake through the ringer. I think it's the second one. I can't remember.
Well, in the first book, the shoe shine scene in the first book, Matt Drake's at an airport and they want him to come back to work, so he has to go overseas to perform the task. Hopefully, I'm not giving out spoilers to anybody.
Yeah, no, you have to go read it if you're listening. You have to go check it out.
Oh, it's one of my favorite novels. But then Matt Drake just starts right into a big, huge fight right there after he's getting a shoe shine because he doesn't want to go with these guys who were told to take him.
Yeah,
so
it's the second book where he gets in the car accident on the street.
Yes,
right at the beginning.
Yeah, right in the beginning.
Yeah,
Don Bentley doesn't hold any
punches. No, it was full throttle. Pedal to the floor from the first page turned. It was pretty cool. I listened to the first one on audiobook driving back from Colorado, and my kids were complaining in the back seat that audiobooks are boring, and I'm like, well, your music and your video games are annoying, so put your headphones on and just do your thing while I do my thing. So I remember listening to the audiobook on the way back from Colorado. I almost finished it. I think it was like 10 hours long. So an 8.5 hour
Oh, well.
drive almost got it done. But yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
it's a great book. And, you know who I really like? Jack Carr. I really like, I'm reading Damascus Station right now.
That is on my list.
Yeah,
It looks really
it's
good.
very good so far. It is really good, true spy espionage, like down to the nitty gritty details of it. I think it's Steve
Very nice.
McCluskey, I think is his name that wrote it, and it's really good. I'm about halfway through it right now, and I'm like, woo, man, this is good.
Nice.
Another one I want to read is Sleeping Bear by Connor Sullivan.
Oh, I saw that too. I've talked to Connor a couple times.
Have you really?
On Twitter and Facebook. So, but I haven't read it quite yet. But as soon as well, Grave Choices is coming out on November 30th, and at that same time, I hope to. I will have book 3 finished, and so I'm going to take a month off, and I'm going to read.
Yeah.
I got a stack of novels I want to read, so I want to catch up on all my reading.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on my Christmas wish list that hopefully some family members come through on. And Connor Sullivan's Sleeping Bear is one of them because I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it's an awesome debut. So it's definitely one that I'm going to pick up. But speaking of Grave Choices, as you said, it's coming out 30 November. So here just a couple of weeks after this podcast is released. So 30 November 2021 on Amazon, Noah Hunter Book 2, Grave Choices. We've talked about it a little bit, but officially, what can we expect from Noah Hunter this time around, and what are the ramifications for the future?
Well, I mentioned the conflict of that's part of the novel, a thriller novel, and Noah Hunter not only. I'm not giving away any spoilers. This is on the rear jacket cover. Noah Hunter finds the clues and follows the leads while investigating Arrow Point's first serial killer case. And a lot of the clues lead back towards his friends and colleagues at the police station. So he's under pressure from his friends and colleagues that he has to investigate during the course of this novel. And it's just ramping up. I really enjoyed the story, but I try not to give away all the nitty gritty there.
Yeah, and we've already said that it got promoted, so we already kind of gave away a spoiler. But just a little something for those of you who haven't, seen it yet. I got an advanced copy of Grave Choices, and I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you, my friend, for sending that to me.
Not a problem.
But so I got a pleasure of reading it before anybody else got their eyes on the final version. But I really enjoyed it. It was even better than The Tipping Point, and The Tipping Point was already a really good book. So for those listening, if you have not got it, I suggest you put The Tipping Point and Grave Choices on your Christmas list because it is a great start to a series, and it's only going to lead into bigger things. And of course, you have a lot of things going on in the future, but for right now, you're focusing on finishing up book 3, which is tentatively titled Course of Action, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. What a great name.
Yeah, it's very good choice, my friend. So
thank you.
Course of Action is going to come out next year sometime?
I'm hoping for June 30th, 2022.
June 30th, 2022. So are you going to stay on this cycle? We kind of talked about, the second book in Serve in the Shadows series. But you also have some other ideas, some other fiction ideas in different genres that you're working on as well. So you have a lot of works in progress, but what can we expect from David Darling in the future other than Course of Action?
Well, Course of Action is going to be book 3. I have book 4 already planned out. little sneak peek at the name there. It's going to be called Hunter's Gambit.
Ooh.
And as to when it's coming out, I'm really hoping for February 2023. I've already wrote out the whole novel as to the plot, what's going on, and the amount of research has already started, even though I haven't finished book 3. So, as to what else I'm doing, I also have a science fiction fantasy desire in me to write in that genre as well.
Mm-hmm.
As you could tell, I'm influenced by all my past readings and all the novels I still have. And I've written a fantasy novel series called the Lunar Order, and I'm wrapping up book 2 on that as well. And they're just sitting there, so nobody's getting back to me on the querying for agents, so I might just go ahead and self-publish them as well. And I also have a science fiction time travel novel I'm going to probably sneak out there, and it's already been done and edited, and again, just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with self-publishing. I'm doing quite well, and I'm putting all my efforts into it, and it is paying off. So,
well, I think that's good too, because you really should. It's a big sign that you believe in your work. And just because nobody's getting back to you doesn't mean it's not good. It's obviously good. You've gotten good feedback, plus book sales, and plenty of good reviews on The Tipping Point. You're gonna have more good reviews on Grave Choices. I know for sure you will. I'll be one of the first to write a review once it's live on Amazon.
Thank you.
But so next June, obviously, any traveling next year? You're gonna try to get to Thriller Fest, or was it BoucherCon or anything?
I've looked at Thriller Fest, and I've looked at all the dates. I believe it's from May 31st to June 4th, around there. And I was sort of hesitant, and my wife's like, "Yeah, why don't you just go? Get out of the house for a week.
Yeah.
See ya. Why don't you pack now?" So I'm looking more into that. And Boca Raton, I can't remember where it is coming up this year.
Is it Minnesota?
I can't recall. So, but I'm looking into another book fest. I might do that one as well. So I'm going to leave it at the 2 this year and get out and hopefully meet all the great authors out there and in agents and everybody I've been talking to already for the last few years online that I haven't met yet.
Yeah, I was. Of course, I don't have my novel anywhere close to ready, but I'll have my leadership book that'll come out in April is what we're aiming for now. But then after that, I'll be really working on my novel series. And I thought about going to Thriller Fest, but then I saw how much it cost because it was in New York, and I thought, oh my God, this is going to cost me a fortune to go there. So now I'm looking into the other ones. And I'm hoping to maybe get to one of those next year. Obviously, if the pandemic doesn't get worse and they don't, lock down travel, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but right now it's opening up here, but it's unpredictable. They could lock it down, or the event could get canceled depending upon the location. So, I guess we'll see.
The Thriller Fest isn't going to be cheap.
No,
and that, just spending money like that, it just makes me sick.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to reassess that one, but I do want to get out. I not just to meet everybody, but they also have the workshops, master classes from very well known and published authors that I'm learning. I'm still learning. I'm learning every day.
Oh yeah, we all are,
and I keep practicing. So I take all that information to heart and apply it if possible. So
yeah, I really want to go to Thriller Fest, but it's so expensive. I'm hoping that they do, like last year they did an online type of option, and a lot of stuff was recorded. And I think I spent like a couple $100 on that. But you get to have all the live recordings. You have access to them until the next event. So perfect. I've been able to watch them as I need to, pick up some cues, and still continue to learn as I'm developing, my own. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe they'll do something like that next year. And right now they're just holding out and saying we're trying to drive real ticket sales until maybe they start closing that early bird stuff and they'll start putting up some of those other options. That's what I'm hoping for, because I can't afford to go to New York. It was so expensive to stay downtown in Times Square.
Yeah.
I told my wife, and I was like, "Oh, I should definitely go to this." And she's like, "Yeah, you should. It'd be fun." And then I showed her how much it costs, and she's like, "Well, maybe you can stay home."
Why don't they do this in like Iowa or something? Like just right in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, right. Get it a little cheaper, guys.
Yeah, $6 breakfast, all day breakfast at the diner. Yeah,
I'm not going to turn that down. Okay, so last question, and we've kind of topped on it right now. So, as of right now, Course of Action is coming out next June. What can we expect after the third Noah Hunter book? What's the next big target?
Well, after the third Noah Hunter book, I'm running into a problem it's a good problem. My question is Noah Hunter, the police detective in Arrow Point, growing too big for a small town? Mm. So I've already handled a mafia type scenario. Book 2, I deal with a serial killer scenario. Book 3, which I'm not going to really quite talk about, is escalated beyond that. I almost said it, actually. It escalates dramatically. He pits himself against a larger entity. So, what's next in Arrow Point? This is a small town.
Right.
Like, it's just not 120,000 people kind of thing. So, how many things can happen into a small town? Mm-hmm. But some authors can create 20 books in a series of a small town events. But wow, what bad luck does this town have? So I'm thinking of expanding Noah Hunter, even temporarily, to go beyond Arrow Point, beyond Wyoming, into a small town, maybe working with another agency.
Okay.
Or law enforcement agency, and even temporarily to give him some more world views, some more training, mm-hmm. and take what he's learned back to his small community.
Okay. So, Grave Choices, the end of this month, 30 November. Course of Action next June, hopefully at the end of next June. And then, of course, everybody should be looking forward to the fourth book, Hunter's Gambit.
Hunter's Gambit,
and of course he's got some other things locked and loaded and ready to go. So you can see a lot from David Darling in the future. David, tell them where they can find you at.
Well, I'm on Twitter at David Darling CA, and I'm also on. I have my own Facebook, my own website. It's daviddarlingbooks.com, and through that you can find my email, my Twitter, Facebook author page, all that fun stuff.
And of course, you can find him on Amazon starting 30 November with Grave Choices. While you're at it, you can also pick up The Tipping Point and Serve in the Shadows Recruitment. 3 great novels. Take up all your time over the holidays, all that downtime, get off of social media and pick up a book. And I got 3 book recommendations for you right now. So, David, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I wish you the best in the future. I know we'll stay in touch. And for those of you who have not pre-ordered Grave Choices, you can pre-order it right now. That's all we have today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Remember to leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on, and check out jeffclarkofficial.com for more. And remember, always forward, never behind.